Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's September 23rd. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And actually, before I get to the chart lesson, there was something I wanted to. Every now and then, I like to read you some emails that I get, and I got an interesting one. This one came in over the weekend, but I thought I would share it with people. I like to read some positive feedback I get from time to time, just so you can see that some people do have success, and I wanted you to see where one gentleman's having success here. And basically, he sent me this email. It looks like it came in on Saturday, uh, but the title is My $1,200 Runner. And it says, "Hey Mac, it's been a while since we last spoke through email. I've had your system for a little less than a year now, and it has changed my trading entirely. I am between 78 and 82% consistent now in a little less than a year. I believe that the reason I've made such quick progress is because I constantly study my trades, my mistakes, I study my good trades, and also because I spent 4 years studying price action previously through some of the books of Al Brooks." So he has some previous experience with price action. And just to clarify, um, every now and then I'll get some question. Somebody will say, "Well, why didn't you do this? Al Brooks says do this." Well, me and Al Brooks, price action is price action. And for the most part, I think if you digest his book, we're doing the same thing. Some of my terminology is a little different. A few things I do are different than him. But price action is price action. So if you're truly trading price action, um, a lot of what we do is going to be similar. So, but don't ask me why I did this or call something different or why I'm not doing something Al is doing, because I'm not teaching Al Brooks' system. I'm teaching price action. And, the way I learned it is slightly different than some of his stuff. And one thing I do think is that Al is, just reading I read one of his books one time, and I think he's brilliant when it comes to understanding the price action and what it's doing. I think he knows exactly what he's talking about, or at least he has the right information. Sometimes his books are a little hard to digest. He's a little hard to understand. Um, that would be the only drawback I would say to reading his books. But his books are good stuff. So if you want to pick up something extra on reading materials that where you might can learn more about price action, pick up one of his books. I've never read anything but his original book, and reading it, a lot of what he does parallels what we do. He has a lot of different terminology, and he does do some things slightly different than what we do, but for the most part, he's teaching price action, and price action is price action. And you can't have two different price action strategies if you're truly teaching price action, because it's all the same thing. So anyway, back to his email. He says, "Your system makes perfect sense. It is important to know where people are getting trapped, understand what prices are doing and why." And he emphasizes why. And that's the same thing I try to tell people. When you first start this, you're not going to have a clue what prices are doing. It's going to take time and experience. It's like learning a language. It's like learning a foreign language. If it's not a native language and you've never studied it, it's going to take you a while. You can't just see the words, and even if you know what the words mean, you may not can make complete sentences with it. The way you are able to eventually talk fluently is that you immerse yourself in the language and you use it every day, and you learn additional little pieces of different words that put things together and so forth. So um, you you really do need to understand why prices are doing what they're doing. And once you understand price action, you will. But his email goes on. There's logic to the whole thing, and it's clicking more and more every day. I caught a $1,200 runner on 2 contracts Thursday. The trade took a total of 3 hours and 26 minutes to manage. Here are some screenshots. He sent me some actual screenshots of the trade. Feel free to talk about it in your Monday video if you want to help other students and tell them of my success. Um, Most important, if they persevere through the difficulties and learning to understand what prices are doing, they will succeed. I have attached the screenshots as well as proof that it was on my live account. Thanks again for everything you do. God bless. And so, I get emails like this. I don't get them every day, but once a week or so, I'll get an email like this from people that are having longer term success. And most of the ones that I hear from continue to touch base with me from time to time, even way into the future. So um, only a small people make it in this business. I'll just be honest with you. Most of you probably won't make it, but the reason won't be because it doesn't work or because you can't learn it. The reason will be because you don't put in the time and effort that this really takes. And that's where people get confused. They have unrealistic expectations of what it takes to succeed at this. But just assume that you're trying to learn, I don't know what your native language is, but let's just assume you're an English speaking native, and you don't understand any other language. Imagine trying to go and learn Portuguese tomorrow. I pick Portuguese because I go to Brazil a lot, and so I've tried to learn the Portuguese language to a small extent. Um, so imagine trying to learn Portuguese if you're an English speaker. Well, you can't just pick up a book and read the definitions and learn what the words mean and put it all together. You still have to learn to make sentences, and in the beginning you'll be speaking broken Portuguese, and eventually hopefully you can make complete sentences, and then maybe you can learn how to put the sentences together in the proper context and so forth, just like putting the chart into proper context. So imagine how long that's going to take you. Well, trading is the same. Especially if you're only doing it a little bit every day and you're not studying and reinforcing and figuring out where the main thing you get from studying your own trades is you learn your tendencies. You learn where you're making mistakes and you learn to correct them. The other thing is you just learn to understand where prices are going. If you see this thing happening every day, you start to learn to see it. Just like these trend lines, I can glance at these charts and see these trend lines and these channels instantly. I hardly even need to put the lines. Every now and then there's a little bit of a complicated channel, I might have to put the lines on there to make it clearer for myself, but for the most part I can look at the chart and I know where every one of these trend lines are and trend channels. I don't even have to draw them anymore because I look at this. I've been doing this every day for 15 years. And most people will come in here and they'll trade for, they'll read a book or they'll read my manual and they'll watch me do a few videos, and then they can't stand it and they're going to go live and they're going to be a donator. Don't be a donator. And if you've never heard me explain that, for me to make money, somebody has to donate. For anybody to make money, somebody has to donate. They're donators because this is a zero-sum game. For every winner, there's a loser. If somebody doesn't lose money, I can't make money. So you have to have donators. So the donators are great. I just don't want anybody that I know and that friends of mine or students of mine or whatever you want to call them, I don't want y'all being the donators. Get on the simulator. Don't try to go live until you've proven you can make money consistently on the simulator. Then maybe you're ready to try it live. And even then you may have to step back to the simulator a time or two. And that's just normal. It doesn't mean you're not succeeding. It doesn't mean the strategy doesn't work. It just means you haven't learned it yet. And that's just so hard for some people to understand. And I get it because I did the same thing. I got on here, I read a couple of books. I knew an old timer that understood price action, and he taught me a little bit about it. And he kept telling me, you're not ready to go live, but I thought I was. And I did the same thing. I blew a few accounts. I made a lot of mistakes. But luckily, I hung in there long enough till I made it. And not everybody can hang in there that long or won't hang in there that long. So, I didn't mean to get off on another tangent today, but that email just reinforces exactly what I tell you. Trading every day and closing up and going home does not make you a better trader. What makes you a better trader is coming in here, trading on the simulator, trying to trade by the rules, trying to do everything right, and then at the end of the day, studying every single one of your trades. Study them all. Then go back and study the chart and look for the trades you missed. Figure out why you missed them, what you could have done differently about them, and just look what the chart did. Figure out what it did. We sold off down here. We bounced, and really from about 3 o'clock, between 3 and 4 o'clock this morning during the overnight session, we started trending up, and it was really a weak trend up until we got in this upper half, and it stayed up here. This is all staying above the EMA for the most part and moving higher. You don't want to trade it both ways up here. Up until about right here, you could trade this either way if you wanted to. But from about here on up, this is a spiking channel up inside the other channel with a little overshoot up here. And so from about right in here on up until right into 2 o'clock, you didn't want to be taking really shorts anymore because it's not a, it's not, we're not swinging up and down below, above and below. Yeah, we shoot a little bit below the EMA a couple of times, but that's not what I'm talking about. Look what's happening here. You're below the EMA and then you trade above it. Then you trade below it, then you're above it, then you're below it, you're above it, below it, and then from there on, really, we're mostly above it. Yeah, we poked through a few times, but we're not trading well below it. So that's the difference. So hopefully you can see that. When you're swinging up and down, back and forth, above and below the EMA consistently like this, you can trade that. Even though this is a slide up trend, this is a mostly sideways channel. Mostly sideways action, I should say. It's an upward channel. But once we shot up here in this upper half and stayed up here and couldn't even get back to the midline, now you know you're in an uptrend. And I just stay with the longs until, and there's not really many trades after 10 o'clock. We didn't do much this afternoon. From 10 to 2, there's not much volume. There's just not much going on. We had a little more movement late in the afternoon, but it's way too late then. So, but anyway, I hope that's helpful. Thanks to that gentleman for sending his email. I always encourage people to send me good or bad emails. I like to read the good ones, just to show people that some other people are having success and this does work. And I know that gives you a little incentive, and it kind of encourages people that are struggling or not quite there yet. But this is a journey and it's a long one. So if you think you're going to come in here in 3 to 6 months and be making money, it's I don't know anybody that's ever done that. And I've been in this business a long, long time, and I don't know anybody that's ever done that. Nobody. I'm not saying that there's maybe not somebody that has, but I don't know anybody that's ever done it. And I doubt any of you are going to be able to do it. The odds are not on your side for that. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how high your IQ is. You're not going to do this in 3 to 6 months. You'll probably be lucky if you can do it in 3 years. So it does take a commitment, and it is a very long-term commitment. But if you stick to it, you will get there, and that's the key. So anyway, let's talk about the trades. Won't take long. There's not a lot today, but we had this big trend coming down during the overnight. We had a little close outside, the instant low, and then we just started kind of meandering up, and we did that all the way into the 2 o'clock hour and really all the way into the close. So again, it is swinging. This is a two-tiered channel working up. It pretty much held all the way up until we got a little bit of an overshoot here, but it continued to hold up here, and then we finally had an overshoot. It looked like we may reverse, but that's still a nice correction, a nice two-legged correction, and then we started higher again. So, but really, in all honesty, I think this afternoon we had another spiking channel up, and we were really playing this brown channel. The spike up into this brown channel was really what you had to pay attention to. Always when you start seeing prices do like this, look and see if you can't find a trend line along this low edge here. And that was pretty easy to find. So, but if you don't know to look for it, it's not easy to find. But anyway, let me back out. We'll talk about the trades. 7 o'clock came right down through here on this little correction, and notice what's happened. We're moving up. You get a close outside, which consists of 2 legs down. Really 2, you were flat across here, so you could treat this like a little failed break lower because we bounced here multiple times. We get this little failed break lower, and we actually had this bar that's running both outside. This is really your signal bar, and when it closes, I like going long 1 tick above that bar. I don't know if you could have got in this trade because it does gap over and keep going high. Notice how this bar right here opens on its high and closes on it. Opens on its very low and closes on its very high, and there's no overlap between those 2 bars. You could have dropped a limit order. I don't know if you'd have got in that trade. Maybe, maybe not. Then it turns down, and we get another leg down similar to this one, so you end up with 2 legs down. Then you're just kind of going sideways here. No real entries there. It's tempting to go short right here. I didn't mark it. That's a lot of congestion, but it did break higher here and fail. And that is a failed second entry long right there. And when it turned and went lower right here, you might go short one tick below that bar. I did not mark that, but it's a possibility. I'll at least make it green. Where is my green one? And then we're just kind of still chopping sideways. I would just kind of sit here and see what happens here. I'd draw that trend line right there on that bounce. And I would draw this trend line across there as well. But you can see you got a new low, and then you try to go lower once, and then you push up through the EMA, try to go lower twice. It does bounce off that trend line and confirm it, and you get a big bullish reversal type bar. It actually traded way down here and then ends up closing almost on its very high. That's a reversal pattern. Go long one tick above that. Quick, easy move. You make a new high, pull back first entry, and then you pull back right at the trend line again. You get another green bar with a second entry right there. If you didn't have enough room to get out before these highs, I would be leery of that one. If you do have enough room, by all means take it, which I think you have just enough room. It ends up going much higher, and then we just kind of sell off. And unfortunately, you don't really get a good entry. There is a second entry right down there. Look how this is moving down. You get a first entry, then you're moving down, and this actually went lower and then turned and went out the other side. I would just wait on that bar to complete, really. You're still a long way away from the EMA. It does confirm this trend line. That's a second entry long. I like that one. And it takes on off. There's a failed second entry short here, but I wouldn't take that. There's 3 bars stacking up. That bar is more bearish, but usually you don't care as much about this signal bar, and that is the first close outside, but you could just tick one tick higher and be enough, and it could turn back down. This would have ended up working, but you can see it didn't go far before it turns back down. We actually kind of spike down right here and go into a little channel. I don't have the other side of it on there, but just for y'all's sake, I'm going to put it on there, and you can see how tight that is. And you do get a break here, and it turns and goes down. That's another one I didn't mark. You could treat that as a failed second entry long, and there is plenty of room to get out here if you went short one tick below that when it actually broke higher and then turned down. And that is a failure. So it's just a first entry short, but it's a failed second entry long. So you may take that one. I'll mark it. We were still had the kind of an upward bias here, but again, you can trade this both ways. So, but generally I'd want to be looking for my shorts up here and not right in here. But if you get a trap or something like that, yeah, you should probably take it. Then we kind of move up, you pull back. Notice you're moving up, you get a first entry and you make a higher low there. You don't break higher, but that's still a little failed second entry short. It does look a little like a reversal pattern. Fairly small bar, mostly bullish. Didn't close on its high. You may take that one, but I'd wait on the true reversal. This looks more like a true reversal here. It tries to come back and it bounces off that trend line. Gives you a big, the bar opens up here and trades all the way down. And notice what it's doing. It's pushing through that midline and it pulls back and tests it, and then it goes higher. And that's what you want to see. Notice here when it pushed through, it didn't pull back and test it. It just turned back down. It actually had pushed through the EMA and it pulled back and tested that before it went higher. And that's what prices do. They always retest in support and resistance after they push through it and pass it. And you know, so always look for prices to come back and try to test that in most cases. So we move up here and we're just kind of going sideways. We're really close to the top. We're not quite there yet. Depending on how you had this line, I adjusted this thing a couple of different ways. It may just be up here, but that don't explain why it turned down here. And so I don't know exactly where it is. The midline did fit right where I had it, because you can see the distance, the equal distance between these two lines right there. So it does fit well there. So that's the reason I had it there this morning. It tends to be working there better. But anyway, we we make this, we're pushing up here. We finally get a close and a new high. We didn't quite get up there. We come back, we test that once, we come back, or really I would say we tested it right here, and then we come back, we went higher and we came back and tested it again. So there is a double test there. It's a fairly bullish bar, but that is so congestive. But this is a bounce off the EMA, a double test of this, a relatively bullish bar. It is a second entry long too. Notice that I pull back first entry, pull back second entry. So if you've got enough room to get out before getting back up here, you may take that one. I think it's risky. And then we just kind of run up here and test all that again. We come back, but we bounce at that same place again. I don't see any signal bars I like right there, unfortunately. And we come back again right here, and we bounce off that trend line. We don't really get a second entry. It's just all one move back, and then we just bounce off that line, and it is a nice little bullish bar. And you could make the argument that maybe we kind of closed outside and dropped down. I think you're better off to wait on a higher low, which is right here, and it actually went lower and turned and went out the other side. So you could have a buy stop right there. That's your higher low, and you do have room to get out there. But it's right at the 2 o'clock hour, but it's so close to 2 o'clock there, I'd be okay with that one, but that's why I marked it green. You could probably argue for that to be blue if it wasn't so close to 2 o'clock. So, but really you can see the last really for sure trade was around 10:15 to 10:20, and there just wasn't much else happening. I mean, there's just very low volume. It's mostly up here, but there's just not any volume or anything, and nothing much going on there. So now if you had some better setups through here with your signal bars, you might have argued for these to be blue. I just don't have any good signal bars through there, and there's a lot of congestion, a lot of sideways stuff. We are coming off the highs here, so there's a good chance we could go lower. And somebody did send me an email saying that they, I can't remember exactly what their email said, but they said something about they were expecting it to turn down up here. Which that's what you're expecting. That's what price action, the odds tell you you're probably going to turn down up there. But never trade off a guess. Wait till price action shows you something. And I don't see any shorts up here or really a lot of longs that I like. This is why you wait on a lower high. You get one right there, and that one would have worked. I don't like the signal bar very much. But if you had a good signal bar, you could go short there. I wouldn't have a problem with that. We had been above the EMA for quite a while. We went above it at 10:15 or so, and this is after almost noontime, so it's almost 2 hours later. So we've been above the EMA almost 2 hours. So that's starting to say, hey, maybe you don't trade this both ways. But because of this trend channel line, the fact that we had been trading it both ways, if you got a good setup up here on a short, I wouldn't have a problem taking it. But you're going to have to wait on a lower high. Don't try to take this. Look how many times we made a high here and it failed until we finally made an equal or lower high. Like this is a double top, that's still considered a lower high. That one worked. And then you run up here and you don't get another lower high until right here. And again, that one would have worked. So wait on that lower high when you're not sure if prices are going to reverse yet or not. And even then you could still get trapped. But that's the better play, is to wait on more proof that it's reversing by getting that lower high. And so that's the reason I don't like marking these first highs, because a lot of times you're going to push up and get a lower high before prices are really going to revert. But anyway, that's what I saw today. Pretty good morning. I wouldn't say it was a pretty good trading day, because from 10 o'clock on it was just not much happening. So, and this is when it gets hard to sit on your hands and do nothing. And I know I got at least one email, people trying to short this. And again, wait on that lower high. I see two lower highs, one here, and both of them would have worked. So if you'd have been patient and followed the rules, you're probably okay. But if you tried to pick a top, you probably got burned. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.